Right, so we are at Wright Mill. I've no idea, this looks like it's so the sign there, Kingston Lacy Estate, Wright Mill. So this National Trust property is Wright Mill, Kingston Lacy, near to Wimborne, and I'm not even sure the accessibility of this one because it's only a small paragraph in the book, and that tends to mean that there is no access. So I'm going to have a look, and if I can't, then that will be the end of the visit, I'm afraid. But there's 18th century mill. It's built on the site of it mentioned in the Doomsday book, so it's going to be pretty old. And there is a tour going around the mill. So it's on the River Stour, and I think the entrance is over there. So let's go and have a look. So I don't know, take our life into our hands. Mill house, here we are. It's on. It's just here. Oh right, okay. Fair enough. So the entry charge is £3.50, open every day. I have a hello.
Hello there.
Hello.
I'm going to wait there.
Right.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Not been here before. I have no idea. Not going to be
ramps
very
in there.
accessible.
You probably won't be able to obviously get up.
I know.
You're welcome to
I
have a
can
look
fly.
round at the
I
bottom.
can fly up there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
That's lovely, thank you.
All right.
What you can do, if you go down to the bottom.
can you do with it?
What, this? I can do miracles with this.
Go on then. do
Got the
wheelies.
You're
Wheelies.
on camera, Brian, so watch out.
I know, I can. I was wondering whether you like the gravel for a wheelie.
Oh, I don't like the gravel.
No.
National Trust gravel was awful.
Yeah, they
Really
do
is
that,
awful.
don't
Yeah. It would be a lot better if they compacted it down
they?
into,
Yeah.
you know. But particularly the loose stuff is really quite bad.
Well, if you could get into the bakery at the end, we'll have a look.
Right, okay.
There's lots of information in it. Actually, a tour going on in a minute, but you're welcome to go in
Right.
and listen.
Yeah.
And all of them are carved in this way.
He was just starting his
This,
tour.
yeah.
Ah,
And then
And then
when he's
people say-
finished, let me know.
all right.
Why
Sort out what we can.
do they carve them like
Okay.
that? What's the point of carving millstone like that? Well, if you look at this, very simple. They're carved exactly the same way. And what happens if you turn it? Anything that's in the middle is going to the outside edge. Yeah.
Very clever.
So every few months the miller will have a job. He'll have to redress this. And to redress it, he uses a little tool like this. Now, it's not very heavy, a few pounds, but the handle is in the wrong place. But if you try that...
Oh, yes. It wants to go down, doesn't it?
I'll take your word for that.
Yeah?
Really heavy, is it?
It's only a few pounds, but all the weight is in the head.
Yeah.
So if you hold it like this, it's quite nice.
Now you tell me.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So what he'll do is he'll have to raise the stones every few months and then chisel away. Right, these are just bits and pieces that we've got here. These are seed drills. Why we've got them here, or they've been found left around. So obviously you put your seeds in the top and just push them along. But this is a copper. Now, how do you keep water or get hot water in those days? You light a fire, and this is a copper pan, goes down about this far, and that's how he'd get his hot water. But it was also, he had an oven here where he would bake his bread. The harnesses, etc., are all from around here, because he did have a horse and cart, and he did have a cow. Now, it was a fulling mill at one time, as well as being a grain mill and a grist mill, which was for the animal food. And this is how a fulling mill works. Basically, you take your wool and you place it, immerse it in water, and you beat it with hammers, and it felts it. It's sometimes called a fulling mill because they had this very fine clay, which the military were using to decontaminate the soldiers. Yes, it's called fuller's earth. Yes, and they would put that in there to help felt it. There's been a mill on this site, even mentioned in the Doomsday book. So, yes, but it's just changed what it was milling or how it was milling, etc.
Yeah.
When it was the last miller, Mr. Joyce, left here in 1902, and it wasn't milled after that because there was no one here. The Bankses didn't need this to produce the flour for them, etc. And when the trust did take it over, they had a lot of work to do, and you can see where they've replaced timbers, etc. They have not put it into a working condition because there's no point, because we've got no flow of water. Right, if we go back out, we'll have a look at the leat.
Right.
You okay there?
Yeah.
And he would have the wood, because all the cogs on the wooden machinery are made of fruit wood. Because if what he wants is
Pete, go back a minute. There's a ramp for the other side, and you can get in on the
Okay,
lower floor
lovely.
on the other
Thank
side.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. So he would have this fruit wood, and he wants the cheapest piece of machinery to break if there's a problem. And so what he did was he would have the cogs made of fruit wood, and the rest of it is elm. And elm is a very strong wood, and it actually tolerates the water. But the fruit wood would snap, and therefore the cheapest bit is broken. It would come to a halt because there's no cogs to drive it, and therefore he could then stop the wheels, and he could then replace the cogs, find out what's gone wrong, why they broke, and then get it going again. This is the leak. There is some water in it, but the flow would have been much higher. And you can see a post in there, but there were another 2 posts, and there is one over on the far side, and he could have boards in there so that he could block the flow to one set of wheels or the other wheel. You've got a date there that says 1776. it's not the date of this mill, it is the date that the person who was the miller did a deal with the Bankses. I won't pay you any rent, but I will convert this into a wonderful brick mill. All he did was put a thin layer of brick on the outside.
Cheeky.
Yeah,
So he had the good deal.
yeah, he had the good deal. So you can see that this is the miller's house, you can see. It's where Christina now lives. She's the tenant here. And you can see that originally it only extended to here. Then they put on another part, which is the kitchen. And you can see, look at the chimney. They've added that much on.
Oh, yes. Oh, lovely.
Oh, weird.
And if you'd have been here,
Lovely place
not
to
last Christmas, but the Christmas before, Christina had the Christmas dinner ready to go on the table, and she had sandbags everywhere, and it was lapping at that door.
live. Oh, really?
Yeah. So she nearly had to evacuate.
Oh, gosh. Goodness me.
But you can see, if we look here, the bakehouse, how it's an afterthought. There are no foundations here. It's just on the bed. And he's tied it in with 1.5 bricks, that's it. That's all he's got.
Shoddy.
You have the well here. Now the well was brought here because he brought a traction engine and sat it here. And that window was a doorway.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And he had the belt from the traction engine running through that doorway to drive 2 of the stones.
Yeah. They've done that
But he
before.
wanted clean water, and the only way to get it is to go down and have a well. But you take it from the river, you'll get all kinds of muck in it.
Yeah.
All right? If you want to come round. Yeah, no problem.
I'm stuck.
Right. You get a better view from the other side. Here you can see
Stuck. The gravel was
where the
really bad.
work. So you can look in there, you can see it. He could, if you can imagine, you've got your dam up there, then you've released the water, it's coming down here. There's got the water spray, you've also got the noise. It'd be quite loud, especially if you're inside. You've got a milk pond, but it's quite empty at the moment because we haven't got the flow of water. But with an undershot mill, you always have a mill pond to catch the flow of the water. One question, why would you put a doorway up there?
Steps, the ladder. Good question.
Well, we're talking
Get
for
the,
the car, when you had horse and cart. Cart wheels are about here,
Yeah.
so your bed would be about there, and it's just a question of, it's easy to lift it in and get rid of stuff from that height.
Ah.
Okay?
Oh, yeah.
He's waiting for his friend to come back. Right. Just going in.
God, it's gravel.
You can manage.
It's the gravel.
Bit of reversal.
Just don't go too far, that's...
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Right. Now you've noticed the floor has been raised here.
Yes.
That's because these 2 stones or wheels here became obsolete. But he was making bread, so he needed milk, and he painted the walls white, and this became his milking part. Yeah? You've got a stone there, which was for grinding animal feed, and it's got a date on it of 1843, January. So that's a grist stone, or an animal feed stone. Basically how this place works is you have the pit wheel there, but it's being driven by the water wheel on the other side. And the pit wheel, by turning, pushes on the wallower and it converts it from vertical to horizontal movement. And this then drives, this is the spur gear, and this drives the stone nut. And this is what I was saying about the fruit wood.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what he wants to break. If there's going to be a problem, he wants it to break, but you see how heavy it is, you can move it quite easily. And you can see he wants it to be balanced, so he's put some lead on the top there.
Right.
So there's your sack hoist. So he's controlling that from these little ropes here. And he will be able to take it all the way up. Right. We're going to have to leave you. If you go out, Colin will take you in the other door and sort you out, and then we'll head this way. Do mind your head if you're above a certain height.
Okay.
And the floor is uneven.
Thank you.
When he's milling, he's released the water and he's milling here.
Yes, thank you.
He is in control and running everything from here. This goes to the hopper
You're welcome to listen in.
above
Yeah.
on that bit.
Yeah.
The stone here, and so that he can control the flow. If he thinks it's not flowing fast enough, he can turn it, and we can show you on the model exactly how that works. This is the lever whereby he can control whether he's going to use the sack rope or not. There should be 2 ropes for that, and you can see how really nicely this is all ornate rather than being just plain.
I've seen a similar mill in Coles Mill.
Yeah.
Is there a similar mill?
Yeah.
How it works and everything
Yeah.
else?
So you know the basics.
no, yeah, sort of
What we'll
basic.
do now, if you want to go around the other side, we can see the other side of me.
So what you need
Basically, what we can show you.
We
I've got a book here all
we
about.
were around there just now.
And you were in the bakery.
Oh,
He didn't go in the other side of the mill here.
right? If you look
No,
on
we came
No.
round it. You came right round it.
yeah.
Yeah. So if you come back down the road,
They
you
had
come back
3
the other
nails
side of the
here.
mill. Yeah.
And so he didn't want this one to work, he wanted to work on this stone. What you do is it's coming around.
It's really, really bad.
Not meant for them, is it?
Now I'm stuck. If I go over there,
Yeah.
oh, we're going in here. Ah. Oh, I see. Ah.
Just to sort of put in the picture, in the hole there, which you can have a look at in a minute,
Yeah.
would have been the water wells. The other side of this wall,
Right.
and then you have 2 sides to the side that Peter's
Yeah.
showing the other people, and this side. This side in later years was actually converted around a little steam engine.
Which they put through the window.
Yes.
He explained about
Yeah,
that
that was
earlier.
originally
Yeah.
that ladder wasn't there, and there was originally a door
Yeah.
there. And the belt would have come in onto that
Coming onto that
pulley.
fly on that, yeah, the
Did he
the
explain
wheel.
that?
Yeah.
And then belts driving and the step,
Yeah.
they disconnected the waterway.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is, I don't know if you mentioned, this is what they call the tentering device.
Right.
This adjusts the gap on the stones above. So you have your drive, your steam engine would have come through, belt onto that pulley. You then have a belt from here and here,
Yeah.
driving each stone. And your drive going up for each stone, one there,
Yeah.
one behind here. And then a belt coming off what the old stone nut at the bottom onto what they call the. No, I'm going to pass. Yeah, onto this big gear here. Then that big gear goes up to the main shaft,
Yeah.
right up to the top.
Yeah.
Because you have to drive the crane wheel, which drives all the ancillary
Yeah,
parts.
yeah.
I think it's called the sack hoist, the other
Yes.
side. But to adjust the stones,
Oh.
because you have to adjust the gap between the
Yes,
stones.
just a gap.
you have
You've
what
got
we call
a wind
device,
up in.
a tentering.
Yeah.
So that, you would screw that up and down on that thread.
For the millstones.
That
Yes.
would, yes, that would raise and lower that.
Ah.
And then that would raise and lower this beam. And the main drive Can you get in there? Don't jam yourself in. So that would raise and lower this one. That would raise and lower that one. And then that would raise and lower your drive. That goes up to the runner stone above.
Right.
This is the bed stone. That stays still.
Yeah.
Sits in this framework, which you call a hearse. And then the stone above is the one that turns, driven by this shaft.
Right.
If you adjust this up and down, if you adjust this up and down, you can then raise or lower this. You adjust the gap on the
Yes.
between the
So you've
stones.
only got to do a little tiny bit to
Very
get that
small, yeah.
move.
Flower shoot coming down here, and the miller would fill the flower.
Yes.
If the flower was very hot, that meant that gap was way too close, dangerously
Ah.
close. If the
Set
flower
on
was
fire.
very coarse, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, flower dust will ignite.
Oh.
Not a lot of people know that. I didn't know that till I came in. He would fill the flower. If it was too hot, that was
Yeah.
too close. If
So-
the flower was very coarse, that meant the gap was
Too big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he would adjust this tension.
I
There would
suppose
be
you-
one of these on each stone.
I suppose you, when you're doing it as a job, I suppose you can hear it as well, can't
Yes.
you? Hear the.
Yes, very much the mill.
Yeah.
As you go up through different things, up above you have where the stone mills the flour, and you have
Yeah.
a device on top of that that controls the grain going into the stone.
Yeah.
There's a little bell on there.
Ah.
When the hopper that feeds the stone gets down below a certain level,
Rings the bell.
there's a little piece of string comes out and
Ah.
it rings a bell. And that
Very
tells
clever. Very clever.
Now, how he would hear that with all the noise
Yes.
of the stones turning.
I suppose you get used to it, don't you?
Yes. He would
Like-
know the noises of his own mill. Mr. Joyce ran
But
the
that's
mill.
pretty
the
good.
lot.
Yeah.
So this side was later converted to drive on a little steam engine. This would have been normally level, but actually these beams used to go through the wall and be supported by the wall. But when the National Trust, they were like this. This one's
Right.
been altered. So that beam would have originally been held up
Gone
by
all the way through the
yeah,
the stone.
held up by
there.
the wall. When the National
not been
Trust
held up
took
by
over,
that
these were
now,
all
is
rotted,
it?
yeah. So that's like a big metal. I don't know if you can see the round disc.
Yeah.
It's like a big piece of metal going in there supporting
Ah, okay.
it. But they never actually put the floor back up. It was a feature, I suppose they thought like that. The rats, by the way, is for the kids. We have what they call a rat hunt.
Yeah.
They have to find
Yeah,
the
yeah,
rats
yeah.
as they go around. They can alter here. That drive rests on a little bearing.
Oh yeah.
And when them poles wore, as you can see, these are quite worn, they would just turn that round. So they had a fresh bearing to run it. A lot of weight, because you have
Yeah, a
a
lot
huge
of weight.
stone.
Yeah.
And also a lot of weight on this main shaft.
Yeah.
Two
Very
bearings,
clever,
top
very
and
clever,
bottom,
isn't
to line it all up.
Very,
Yeah.
very clever.
Yeah, I'm an engineer by trade, and it always amazing.
We knew a lot more in them days than we do now, I reckon. A
And
lot more about
I
everything.
just remember the name of the girl, Spurwood.
Spur wheel. Sounds-
Stone nut,
sounds
oak
familiar.
stone nut, but converted to drive on a belt. Lots of
Yeah.
the woodwork now, lots of repairs done. Got your
Yeah.
head here. A lot of the beams had to be replaced. And the foundations of the
Yeah.
mill, they had them underpinned, because this end of the mill was actually dropping when they took over. And we opened in 95.
So how is the flow of the water then? Because there isn't any at the moment. So has that changed over
When
the
we
years?
get some more rain, there will be a slight flow.
Yeah.
We don't get that much flow because originally, up by the mill pond, there was a dam across.
Right.
That raised the water level of the
Yeah,
river coming down.
Yeah.
And there's a sluice gate coming off from a leat
Right.
where you were around. I expect Pete showed you.
Yes.
That sluice gate, because there isn't a weir now going across the river this side,
Right.
the river is lower.
Right.
The sluice gate is here, the river's here.
Yeah.
Not much
So
more.
no.
When we have some more rain and the river goes up a bit, we'll get a bit more.
Yeah.
We didn't have it one time, we didn't have any. But what they did, they lowered the sluice gate slightly so that we had a very little flow. The mill floods very badly, and
Yeah.
always has done.
Well, it's quite low down, isn't it?
Yes, it suffered all its life. We think originally between the river right on the bank there was a raised bank all the way around. There's things you can see that
Yeah,
was in place.
yeah.
That disappeared a long time ago.
Oh,
But the original mill on the site was 1086.
Doomsday time.
And that mill was a lot of mills were what they call fulling or tacking mills. You probably might know about that. That was to do with not making cloth, but making cloth softer.
Oh yes.
When they made cloth, it was actually quite coarse, and
Yeah.
the weave was quite straight. So what they would do is a thing called fulling or tucking, and mills like this would have done that. Basically, you had a big cog with some pegs on. That would raise huge hammers, and then you put this cloth down in a trough, like a reel of cloth, with fuller's earth, and then you would start the wheel turning, raise the hammers, and the hammers would come down on the cloth and pound the cloth in the fuller's earth and under the water. And that would make the cloth softer and spread the weave. It was the old type of cloth.
Yes.
When they originally made it, the weave wasn't, it was quite apart. And that would soften the cloth. So most of those were what they call fulling or tucking.
Yes.
This one was.
Yes.
The last couple of things here are
Yes.
Trying to get off this gravel.
Oh.
It needs bigger wheels, doesn't it? You know that.
Yeah, well, it's alright if it's not on gravel.
Yeah.
Get you about, that's all.
National Trust gravel.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. That was
Okay,
really
I hope
kind
you
of you.
enjoyed it.
Personal tour
We
as
can get a
well.
little higher. They ain't put a lift in yet.
Well, I expect that. You know,
There is a hoist.
there is a horse. Yeah.
Pointing something in the sack.
Yeah, in the flour sack there.
Would you go up on that hoist then? No. No, exactly.
With friends like you, I don't need any ammunition. Well, there we go. That's White Mill, and quite surprisingly, started off with anticipation and trepidation, and it ended up being blinking good, flipping good, as they say. So, and I even got a little guidebook. I think I was supposed to pay for that. It's like a guidebook map, but he gave it me for free. And it's got a lovely map drawing of the mill. And I think they've done a really good job with that. It's made me really feel very at home, very sort of appreciated. The only issue that I would say, the gravel. And it's common wherever you go, so nothing I can do about that. But if they can just maybe compact it down, it would make life a lot easier. So there we go, that's White Mill. It's near to Kingston Lacy, which is near to Wimborne, which is near to somewhere else, which is in the UK. So there we go. Right, that's it then. I'm off now. I'll see you again. Bye for now.